We just got through discussing incoming items. Now let's talk about lack of prioritizing and how that can cause us frustration. Well, we have different items that come into us and that affect our workload, right? We've got projects, daily activities, we tend to procrastinate, and there's things that we don't like to do, but we know that they're important. You don't want to be like this gentleman, just looking at that stack of paper, knowing that you have to do it, really not sure where you're supposed to start, but you know that you have to start somewhere. So by not prioritizing your workload, you're more apt to do the things that you like to do, not necessarily the things that are of high priority. This will result in you feeling overwhelmed and pressed to meet deadlines. So your mind's going to become unorganized because you'll be going from one thing to another without any real direction. You'll experience chaos, indecision, and you're going to just be surrounded by clutter. When you start developing timelines for your projects and you plan your daily activities, you'll stop procrastinating and you'll start feeling like you're more focused and you'll be much more productive. And actually, if you've incorporated your 1 through 31 file that we talked about and your January through December file, guess what? You've been prioritizing and not really even realizing it, because you've been taking those items off your desk, you've been putting them into the date in which you're going to handle them, and you've been prioritizing them. So that what's going to happen is on that last 15 minutes of the day, you're going to go to your tickler files, and you're going to pull out the items that you have filed in there that are due the next day, and you're going to sort them. And you're going to decide what you're going to do in what order. Okay, and it's real important that you develop a system for deciding what needs to be done and then just do one task at a time. So I cannot reiterate enough. Use the 1 through 31 file, the January through December file. This automatically prioritizes items for you. At the end of each workday, you're going to take out the items for the next day and you're going to prioritize them. So, how do you prioritize your workload? Now that you have the work for the day, how can you decide what to do first? Well, you need to establish timelines and guidelines and ask yourself this following question. What is the impact of the task at hand? How much time do I need to complete the task? Is the task difficult and complicated? What resources do I need? And what is the cost? Okay, these same questions will help with the tendency to procrastinate and putting things off that you don't like to do. Because if these types of projects and tasks are included on your to-do list, they're going to get scheduled according to priority. You have to just remember, though, once you've established your priorities, stick to them. So, if you've answered those questions and you've determined that the task at hand has a high impact on your success, will take little time, is simple to complete, you don't need any assistance, and costs very little to do, then the task is of high priority. And sometimes you need to juggle your priorities, right? Because we all know that the day doesn't always go as planned. But by completing a high priority task that takes little time, you'll be able to cross it off your to-do list and you're going to have a sense of accomplishment the very first thing in the morning, right? So once you finish, reward yourself. Take a coffee break, right? You're going to be more motivated to go on to task number 2. Let's just take an example of how this would work in your real estate business. A past client has referred their sister to you. Her and her husband are moving into the area and they'll be in town this coming weekend. They already have found the one house they want to see, and they want to see it on Saturday between 10 and 11, because we know that a lot of people shop for their houses on the internet, right? They do a lot of the searches for us, and they come to you as a real estate agent with the homes that they want to see. Well, they have found the one home on the internet that they would like to see. The problem is, you already have an appointment to show another client some houses. However, this client that you have the current appointment with is a client that you've been working with for about a year. They take up a lot of your time, but you know that they're going to buy eventually, and they're a good client. They've referred other folks to you, so you don't just want to cancel your appointment. But because you haven't scheduled your day too full and you've left your afternoon open, you know that you can move that client from his 10 o'clock spot, and maybe you can start showing him houses at 1 o'clock instead. So it's time to prioritize. Showing the out-of-town clients one house won't take a lot of time, has an impact on your success because it's a referral, and you want to keep getting referrals from this client. It's simple to complete, right? It's just one house. You don't need any assistance, and it's really not going to cost you anything. So it becomes a high priority item, right? It's time to juggle your priorities. A few simple tips on prioritizing. Like I had mentioned, you don't want to schedule your day too full. You want to allow time for unexpected interruptions. I mean, wouldn't it be nice if our day always went as planned? Well, we all know that that's very unrealistic. So if you plan for interruptions, you won't get frustrated and feel overwhelmed. Don't schedule your day too full. That way you can stay on task, and when you get interrupted, ask yourself, is this interruption more important than what I am working on? And if it is, then shift your priorities. If it isn't, let the person know that interrupted you, what your schedule is like, and when you'll get back to them. Okay? Stay on task. All right, let's move on here now, and we'll talk about poor time management skills. We briefly talked about this at the very beginning of the class when we were talking about our calendars and our to-do list, but there's a few items that I would just like to reiterate here and show you and really emphasize the importance of scheduling and your time management. Again, this goes back to the calendar. Stick to your calendar and manage your time. Block out time for everything you want to do and stick to it. And make sure you include the personal time. By using your to-do list and staying on task, you'll be able to manage your time and you'll be more productive. Stay focused and don't keep starting and stopping a project. Too much time is wasting starting back up again. If you know that what you're going to be starting is going to take you an hour and you only have 15 minutes, don't start the project. How many times have you started something, you've gotten up, you've walked away from it, you have to go back, and you can't quite remember where you left off, and you spend time trying to figure out where you need to start, okay? So only start a project if you know you have the time to complete it. Minimize distractions, minimize your interruptions, and stick to your appointments, and don't let others control your calendar, because if you do, they will. All right, the last item here as far as the 4 areas that influence us and cause frustration is not believing in yourself. You need to stay positive, and you need to get away from any of those self-defeating behaviors, right? Being organized makes you feel good, and you have more of a positive attitude about starting your day. Sticking to your calendar and believing in the system that you chose will allow you to stay on task. You'll start seeing how productive you are, you'll be less stressed, and you'll start believing in your system. You have to remember, though, that you have to give your system time to work, and it's okay to modify it, right? You're starting something new. It's a new system for you. It's a new process. Modify it as you go along, because the system that works for you is only going to work for you, not for somebody else. So customize it. And remember how good it feels to cross those items off your list, right? Stay focused on the 20% that matters and forget about the 80% that doesn't. Stay focused and enjoy the feeling during the day as you start accomplishing things and crossing them off your list because you're focused, you're staying on task. And remember how great it's going to feel because you're going to want to start the next day because you know how productive you're going to be. You'll be less stressed and you're going to have more time to do the things that you enjoy doing but simply don't seem to have the time to do now. So let's recap this first section. We talked about the 80-20 rule, and that simply states what? That 80% of your results come from 20% of your efforts. The 96-minute rule, 20% of an 8-hour day. Stay real focused for the first 96 minutes of each day, and you will be surprised at how much more you accomplish than if you were to be unfocused for 8 hours. You'll see a common thread of We progress through our topics today, so I want you to keep these items in mind, okay, the 80-20 and the calendar. It's important to have a calendar and to get one. You have your to-do list, and then we talked about what areas that cause us frustration. All those incoming items, the emails, the voicemails, the paper, your demands, other people's demands, lack of prioritizing, poor time management skills, and then not believing in yourself.